This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad. For this is the day that the Lord has made. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
A reading from the second letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. Brothers and sisters, as your fellow workers, we appeal to you not to receive the grace of God in vain. For he says, in an acceptable time I heard you, and on the day of salvation I helped you. Behold, now is a very acceptable time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. We cause no one to stumble in anything, in order that no fault may be found with our ministry. On the contrary, in everything we commend ourselves as ministers of God, through much endurance in afflictions, hardships, constraints, beatings, imprisonments, riots, labors, vigils, fasts, by purity, knowledge, patience, kindness, in the Holy Spirit, in unfeigned love, in truthful speech, in the power of God, with weapons of righteousness at the right and at the left, through glory and dishonor, insult and praise. We are treated as deceivers and yet are truthful, as unrecognized and yet acknowledged, as dying and behold we live, as chastised and yet not put to death, as sorrowful yet always rejoicing, as poor yet enriching many, as having nothing and yet possessing all things. The word of the Lord. Responsorial Psalm. The Lord has made known his salvation. Sing to the Lord a new song, for he has done wondrous deeds. His right hand has won victory for him, his holy arm. The Lord has made known his salvation. In the sight of the nation he has revealed his justice. He has remembered his kindness and his faithfulness toward the house of Israel. The Lord has made known his salvation. All the ends of the earth have seen the salvation by our God. Sing joyfully to the Lord, all you lands. Break into song, sing praise. The Lord has known his salvation. Alleluia, alleluia. Alleluia. A lamp to my feet is your word, a light to my path. Alleluia, alleluia.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus said to his disciples, "You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, offer no resistance to one who is evil. When someone strikes you on your right cheek, turn the other one as well. If anyone wants to go to law with you over your tunic, Hand over your cloak as well. Should anyone press you into service for 1 mile, go with that one for 2 miles. Give to the one who asks of you, and do not turn your back on those who want to borrow. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Good morning.
Good morning, Father.
So today and tomorrow, we're going to be at one of the more terrifying teachings of Jesus. And as I always say when we come to them, probably among the least kept. As he begins today by quoting from Leviticus, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. And even though that's harsh, that was a retribution of restraint back in the Hebrew tradition. And what that basically said is when someone hurts you, you can only inflict an equal hurt in return. Now, I've never lost a tooth, but trust me, there was a time. If I lost 1 tooth, I would have wanted to knock out 2 from the person who did it. And I know as I look back at my life journey, there was a time when someone hurt me, I wanted to hurt them a little bit more. So they knew they had really hurt me. So even in the Old Testament, retaliation had its restraints. And what Jesus does with his new teaching is he throws out retaliation completely. Completely. He puts no limits to who we are to love. No distinctions over who is worthy and unworthy. And he says, offer no resistance to the one who would do evil to you. When you're struck on one cheek, turn the other as well. That was his teaching, and that was how he lived. Think about his moments of passion. He forgave the Romans who nailed him to the cross. He forgave the Jewish leaders who condemned and mocked him. He forgave the disciples who abandoned him in his moment of need. He didn't simply talk, he did it. And in so doing, he robs us of the restraints that we would maybe not like to have put upon us. Jesus today is very clear. We are to love not some, but all. I don't know about you, but I find that a terrifying teaching. A terrifying teaching. But it is one you and I must grapple with.